Hey blade lovers, this old sword is back again. And while I was just ready to do some videos on a few Kubi knives, since many of you showed interest in the few that I had done, my doorbell rings and good old FedEx is here a day ahead of time, which is nice. On a Sunday with a foot or more of snow on the ground here in New England. And what do I find sticking in the snow? Yeah, stuck in the snow next to my front steps, but a box from White Mountain Knives. And this guy was inside of it that I've been waiting for a little while now due to some mail delays, as you all know, we're experiencing. Anyway, when you think of automatic knives, you probably think of Microtech, Benchmade, ProTech, and a number of others that more regularly produce automatic knives. So where am I going with this? Well, in case you don't know it, Spyderco makes, amongst one or two others, the Autonomy 2, which is what just landed, the C165GP2. Let's take a look. This, I was surprised, is not a small knife. It's a big guy. I did not take measurements off camera, so I'm going to entertain you with those. Very unusual push button, very much in keeping with Spyderco's fame of putting a hole in the blade. And of course, even though it's not needed, what did they do? Well, they had to put a hole in the blade. Standard pocket clip, probably replaceable with an aftermarket, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to take a look at the ones that I currently have. A very interesting pivot here with the 4 holes, but there is a Torx in the center. I doubt I'll be taking it apart. I might adjust it because, as you can see, we've got a blade that's a little off center there. Not that that 100% bothers me, especially on an auto, but here we go. Ah, yeah, take the safety off, why don't you? Very snappy. A very strong spring. Like strong as in don't slip off the blade when you're trying to close it, all right? Let's take a closer look at it. And it is very interesting in that we have that unusual button, which is really more like a, I don't know what you'd call it, sort of a little mini tower there, like it could hold something inside that big area. And when you push it, you can see this cylinder comes through the other side. So that's the word I was looking for. It's sort of it's a cylindrical shaped button. But intuitively, your thumb finds it. You don't have to hunt around if you're not looking at it. It's large enough and tactile enough that you know you're on that actuation button. And although we don't have anything printed on the left side of the knife, on the right side, there we got thumbprints on here. Nice satin finish, but a thumbprint magnet. The big thing you see here is LC200N. That is not the model. That is the steel it's made of. And I don't feel too many of us, especially me included, know what LC200N is. Here's what Knife Steel Compositions has to say. It's a high nitrogen alloyed tool steel produced using PESR technology, which is pressurized electroslag remelting. It increases the cleanliness and refines the microstructure. It's a new alloy that appeared in 2013, and it refers to LC200N itself. Otherwise, this is the same as Chronodur 30. And there is what I'm reading from, if you want to freeze frame and zoom later. Again, I recommend Knife Steel Compositions. So far, only Spyderco listed in their steel listings used in knives. Tusk being the first knife offered in LC200N, and some of you may know the Spyderco Tusk. Several custom knife makers expressed interest and posted positive feedback. Main positives for knife use would be corrosion resistance, good machinability, easier for makers, and easier to sharpen too. And it goes on and on. I'm not going to really read the whole thing here and bore you with that while you're staring at this nice new blade. So we have a blade shape that's sort of reminiscent of other Spydercos, particularly maybe the Endura and the Delica, although obviously without a hole. And I do see now, there were some reflections earlier, there's the Spidey mark. And I believe this is made in the good old US of A. I don't see any other markings on it. I see Golden, Colorado, USA Earth. So this is a US manufactured Spyderco, not Taiwan or anywhere else. Made in Golden, Colorado, I believe. So what are the specs on this guy? As I said, it's not a small knife. Overall, let me back out a little bit since it is at least that large. Well, it's 8 3/8 overall. And it is 3.5 blade and about 3 3/8 maybe cutting edge. And getting out the old micrometer, it's a hefty handle. So we've got, well, actually I guess maybe the weight is more than the width. 0.55 roughly. And a relatively thin, just under 3 millimeters blade stock. There is no weight relieving in it that I have found. I'm not seeing a thing, and you can feel it in the weight. The handle is a good size handle, as I think I showed you early on. Fetching my scale over here. I was set up to do something else, but when this came in, how to do it. We were talking close to 5.5 ounces. So, heavier blade. Good ergos. I mean, with the solid stainless liners that are not skeletonized, it gives you that extra weight. The handle looks very beefy. We don't have any jimping here, which is interesting for what would appear to be kind of a tactical or even working knife. No way you can choke up there. There's no choil, but it's very hand-filling. And it is a longish, as I said, handle. It's a 5-inch handle, just a skosh under 5 inches. You got a handle to blade ratio then that looks pretty good. Interesting. I mean, you got about a ½ inch to play with there, but it is a good size handle. You can choke, go back a little bit, you can choke up a little bit. Let's take a quick look at it next to, let's say, the Ontario Rat 1. Pretty much the same size knife. The Rat edges it out a little bit in blade length, but about the same handle as the Rat 1. Griptilian. Shorter handle, comparable blade. I guess what makes this guy feel large is that it's got a pretty tall handle. See if I can get it at the widest point. Yeah, it's 1.2 inches right in there. A little thinner down the end. I'm not going to get it down there. Well, the main measurement's going to be here. Yep, 120. And if I really do try to grab it in here, I'm getting close to the same. 1.18. So the Autonomy, not Autocrat, that's Benchmade, and that's an out the front, but Autonomy. I think they're running out of words with the word auto in them that manufacturers can use. Give you one more quick tour around. As you saw in the beginning, it has a locking mechanism which locks it open. Can't press the button. And should also lock it closed, as you can see when I first tried. Can't actuate that button when the lock is on. Lots of snap. A somewhat high ride clip, which might be something that could be remedied. A little bit sharp on this safety. That last little bit of that pyramidal cone has some pretty good bite to it. That might be something where if you do own this, you would want to maybe take a fine diamond file and take a little of that edginess off. Although, you know, you don't miss being able to snap it on and snap it off. We have 2 screws holding the G10 on. They're flush. Same thing on the other side. Clips held on by 3 screws. And the clip surrounds the lanyard hole. Very large hole with plenty of room. And it's a tube that goes straight through. So that is shielded from the inside of the knife. Open back construction with 3 pillars if you include the lanyard hole, but basically 2 pillars, standoffs. And when you press this, we find out that this would really appear to be a compression lock of a sort. So it's Spyderco's compression lock technology as far as I can see. It's not a true plunge lock system where the button is locking up inside the mechanism here. It is moving a compression lock out of the way. Very interesting. And I'm telling you, it takes a little bit of effort to close that knife. It's crazy. I guess they want to make sure it opens for you. All right, so a different and unusual one. Whether or not you're into autos, it's, I think, an interesting knife. By Spyderco, the Autonomy. Hope you like this. Give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back with you very soon.